You are listening to the MVP Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Talkin Tech. My name's Danny, and during these episodes, we're going to be discussing indie tech and how to apply it in a bunch of different ways. I know we've had a bunch of different guests on the show before, whether they've been vendors or they've been agencies, right? And trying to bring in how we can use technology to better your day. And these episodes are always going to have a recording where our guests will demonstrate a portion of the solution they represent. Today, we're not going to be really demonstrating a specific solution, but we're going to be discussing a bunch of key points for you guys to take and apply to every day here. And so today, we have someone on who I had met at Indie Tech last year and just completely hit it off. I immediately knew what he was doing was going to be amazing, and he had the confidence to execute it. I mean, just the conversation we have was like blown away. And he has extensive knowledge of commercial insurance, working for Brown & Brown, Snap Associates, Avery Insurance. And I follow his killer content game. Some of the best content there is. But now, running his own ship, he's the founder of a company called Producer Systems, Mr. Nick Aube. How's it going, man?
Danny, it's going good, brother. I'm going to have you follow me around the house and just introduce you as I walk into every room with my daughters. Just have Danny go first. Tell them what's up.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Try and make this as fun as possible, right?
Oh, dude, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. We met almost a year ago at Indie Tech.
Isn't it wild?
Yeah.
And I remember because Peter had done the intro, and those of you know, Peter at WonderEye was my old boss. He was awesome, and he was like, "Dude, you got to meet Nick." And I was like, "Yeah," and just hit it off. I mean, it was it's always nice to meet people in this industry like yourself who very confident and very interested in pushing this industry forward. Sometimes I feel like it's hard to find those people at times.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I appreciate that, man. And thank you for that, and thank you for the intro. And it's when you look at the industry, it's like it's challenging sometimes because there's so many people that have been successful doing it this old school way.
Yeah,
right? And it's like it's proven, right? It's like if you just do that, it will work. And it's like, okay, it will work, but will it work the way that I want it to work? Will it work for me? Like, is that actually the damn life that I want to live? And like for me, when I got into the industry, I realized pretty quickly, like it wasn't like that wasn't going to work for me, to the point I thought about leaving the damn industry.
right.
In my opinion, I'm like, this sucks, man. Like, I know I can make it long term if I do this, but I'm not interested in doing that. And so it really is cool to be a podcast like this and get around other people that are pushing the industry forward and actually trying to drive change and show people and show producers that you don't just have to accept what's been done for freaking 20 years. You don't have to go down there.
Yeah.
Probably longer, 100 years. Yeah,
100. Yeah. I mean, we need to push it, right? Need people on the front lines here, and guys, reminder. This episode is going to be more of a conversation with Nick. And before we had connected, I had asked Nick, like, hey, we're going to cover a couple quick points. So, Nick, what I always do is I have you just say, why our listeners should, check out today's session. So, can you cover those couple points that we chatted about?
Yeah, so basically, why you should listen is because you probably have nothing better to do right now, for starters. Driving in the damn car, working out, whatever the hell you're doing. And really, the focus that we talked about, I get it's a tech podcast, but really we're diving into the BOR and how we can apply the BOR to technology, right? And I think some of the things that we had chatted about was, one is a lot of times people are investing in tech to create a better experience for their consumer, their client. The quoting process is a shitty experience, right? So how can we use the BOR to create a better experience to match the tech is one of the things that we were going to chat about. The other is creating efficiencies in the sales process. There's so much tech going into improving the quoting process to make it go faster.
Yeah.
And the reality is the quoting process sucks for the consumer. So how can we, and really the producer, right? So how can we make the sales process more efficient on the front end through the use of the BOR, and then really enhance the technology investment that people are making on the back end? And then finally, we're going to look at, I think the third thing we were chatting about was like, what's the actual solution for the prospect? Because your tech isn't their solution. Their solution is how they navigate the market, but your tech supports that. So really diving into those three areas. And dude, at the end of the day, my goal is to show people how the BOR actually works, how it can apply to this. And if you're investing a ton of money in tech, you're probably ahead of the most agencies. But how do you actually use it? How do you get your prospects to care about it and actually turn that into sales and revenue is really what we're after here. Because the tech's no good if it just sits there.
That's right. Yeah. Guys,
did I get everything?
No, that's perfect. Yeah. We're going to, what I'll do is I'm going to bring us back into those points. And those are, I mean, extremely important. And we have to think about how our client goes through this entire experience to just get a quote. We're going to be covering that, but I want them to know a little bit about you first, and how you got to where you're at today. Okay. And then I'm going to go back through those points. So just briefly into your background. I know you started into insurance. So first off, why did you even get into insurance?
Probably like anybody, right? It's like, I needed a damn job, dude.
Yeah.
I was in college and I had a family friend who worked at Hanover Insurance, a good family friend. He's like, you should check out insurance. I'm like, dude, no way. I've been on the life insurance interviews. Like, I've gotten 3 jobs at life insurance companies. You walk in for the interview, they're like, hey, you got the job. As long as you write down 100 people that you know, you could start right now.
Right.
And he's like, you got to go check out commercial insurance. I'm like, dude, I'm good, man. I'm freaking good. Like, I've been through the shit. Like, I'll do anything but insurance. But I took the interview and I was hooked, man, on the commercial insurance process. It was at Brown & Brown. I figured out how, kind of how to navigate it, got the job there. And anyway, long story, just ended up staying in the industry. And when I started, it was quoting. It was all quote based.
Okay.
And I moved to California to a mid-sized agency out there.
Oh, wow.
And in 1 month, I moved from Boston. I was in New Hampshire and Boston to San Diego. Like
totally different markets, first off.
Yeah. It was insane. I knew nobody, but it snowed on Halloween in Boston. I grew up in New England. It snowed on Halloween in Boston. It took me 3 hours to get a cab home. And I'm like, dude, I'm done. I'm getting the hell out of here. Next day, I started applying for jobs. In 3 months, I'd moved. I was just over it.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I get out there and like, dude, great timing. We got a hot new landscape market. We were one of 4 brokers in California. It was your classic, like, hey, we can save money. We can save you money. Let us give you a quote. And in 1 quarter, I built up a $4.8 million premium pipeline.
Wow.
At the time, I was still measuring premium, not revenue. I was still like a year into the business.
Yeah.
Everything renewed between April 1st, April 15th.
Wow.
And slowly, day after day, I watched shit just go out the door. They went with the incumbent because the incumbent matched our pricing. The incumbent got their pricing close to ours. And out of the whole thing, I wrote $1,000 BOP. 4.8 million in 15 days down to $1,000 BOP. That was it.
Wow.
And I was like, and it wasn't even revenue BOP. It was a freaking premium. So I made like $100 on the day. I'm like, this is insane.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's when it hit me. I'm like, I can't do this, dude, for the next 30 years. Like, I know guys have been successful at this, but I'm not playing this freaking game. Yeah. And I literally thought about quitting. And at that point, I heard about the BOR. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to study that first. If that doesn't work, and I can't make that work the way I want, I'm out. And so that was really my experience with it. I went on to produce at an agency back in New Hampshire. I owned my book, had a 50-40 split, had expense account, country club membership, the whole deal, man. Selling on BOR. The BOR system was working that I had built. And I was like not passionate about it. I was really passionate about scaling the system. I had hired a coach to help me figure some stuff out. And I saw the coaching business. And that's when I was like, holy shit, that's what I want to do. And so that's where I made the jump, sold my book, and now I'm helping producers figure out the BOR for themselves.
Love it. That's amazing. Nick, you actually went over a couple questions I was going to ask in the next here. So that's perfect.
Yeah. I'm glad you tease it out.
Yeah, no, you knew it. You're like, I'll answer right now. Yeah. But for those listeners who might not know what a BOR is. Can you just explain that to us real quick?
Yeah, so broker of record. I always call myself a broker. You get some people say, well, it's actually agent of record, AOR. I always get that one confused though with OAR, the freaking band.
Oh,
so it's
they're based out of Columbus, Ohio, right?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm out of Columbus, Ohio. It's the only reason why I know that.
Yeah. So look at that, dude. It's like 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
So anyway, AOR, BOR, whatever the hell you want to call it, but essentially what you're doing is rather than going in and quoting,
yeah,
and saying, hey, you prospect, let me quote your business, and at the end, I'll show you the pricing I got from the carrier and why you should move your business to me. What we're doing is on the front end, we're saying, here's what really the strategy you should run to navigate the market. Here's how you can manage your premiums effectively. Here's what you should look for in a broker. And ultimately, you want to pick one broker prospect to go to market for you. Quoting with multiple brokers isn't effective. Do you want it to be me? Here's why it should be me. And so if they say yes to you, right, then you would have them sign a broker of record letter to give you access to their current carrier and the marketplace. And now you represent them and you control the negotiation. Right. So that's the ideal situation. So we're guaranteeing revenue on the front end before we have to go quote. Whereas the traditional quoting process, you're doing all the work up front to maybe get paid on the back end.
Yeah. So, I mean, newer listeners out there, newer agencies. Nick, just so you know, I get a wide variety of listeners. And some are newer agencies or agents in the space that might not know that immediately. So this is good for them to know. Basically, it's like a shortcut to get the business, right? Yeah.
So really, it is, but at the same time, it can have negative connotations, right? So that's one of the biggest myths around it is like, it's the lazy way out, dude. People say, oh, you don't want to do any work, so you're just going to get the BOR, right? And then that leads to this misconception around, well, you're inheriting the other agent's mistakes. It's an E&O issue.
That's a good point.
Taking over the policy. Yeah. It's not true, right? It used to be that way because back in the day, dude, you could sign a BOR and the policy, you never had to look at the policy. The carrier would just transfer it to the agency.
Wow.
That's how it worked. But now you have to resubmit. You have to re-underwrite. The carrier requires you to do it. So you remove that E&O risk. And then at the same time, there are brokers out there that are using it in a lazy way, right? Or there's the scummy way to do it. Where you just say, hey, I need you to sign this to quote. They don't tell them what it is. They don't actually go into the details of what's going on. And ultimately, they're going to get caught, dude, because in 5 days or 3 days, whatever the number is, 10 days, their other broker's going to find out and they're going to make the phone call and it's over. The gig's up. Right. And so it's like, there's a lot of misconceptions around it. Really what it comes down to, if you do it correctly, it's efficient for the broker. And ultimately, it's better for the client because it's going to allow them to create the most leverage in the market because they're going to have one broker negotiating with every carrier rather than having multiple brokers, blocking the markets, tying up the market and really trashing their name in the market. I mean, I'm thinking about it. Like if I'm a client, a lot of the times let's be honest, they might not care too much about insurance. No, yeah. They don't give a shit. Yeah, exactly. So they're like, looking, just get this done, right? Yep. And so if you're able to provide an efficient way to do that and advise them at the same time and see through the gaps that their current agent wasn't able to identify, then what are we talking about? I mean, this seems like, the best way to do it. And so that's what we talked about with the first point, right? Like the experience that we want our clients to go through. Yep. And you just touched on it. You want them, we want to be direct and get what they want, right? Yep. But how does kind of tech fit into that? I know you were kind of talking about that earlier, but in your mind, like what did you do in the past, or see kind of what's going on in the future? Yeah, so if you think about tech, how it fits in, right? You could have a great tech experience, but that front end experience could still suck for the prospect. Yeah. Right? Because they're not being they're not getting all the information. They don't fully know how it works. And so what happens, it's like the quoting, they don't know how to answer specific questions or right? Or the fact that, like, let's say they go to 3 brokers. Well, the first broker to submit to the marketplace is the broker of record. That's why they call it a broker of record, right? This idea of like, I need to get a BOR. In order to get access to the market, you've got to be the broker of record. The ways to do it are first to submit. It's an open marketplace. You're the first one in, or you get the letter signed, right? And so the prospect's like, hey, I'm going to meet with Danny. I'm going to meet with you, and then I'm going to meet with 2 other brokers. And you run to the marketplace and you block out the other brokers.
Yeah.
The prospect is now wasting their time going to the other 2 brokers because they're going to provide the same information. They're going to complete the same applications. They're going to go through that entire process 2 different times. And then those brokers aren't even going to be able to get them options, right? So the idea is around educating the prospect. Hey, before you go through and do any of these applications, you want to make sure you're doing it with the right broker.
Right.
And then the tech supports why they should work with you.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, if you've got a sleek process where they can easily gather the information, they can put it on their phone. They don't have to print a freaking PDF, fill it out by hand and fax it back to you. It's like, you can work with that broker or you can work with me. Here's how we make the process easier, right? So the tech supports that experience. It goes back to the CPA world. Like, only one CPA can file your tax return, right? And you get one shot with the IRS. You can't have 3 people submit and go, that dude's tax return came in lower, I want to take his. You have to vet your CPA or however you're doing taxes first, right? Mm-hmm. And then go to the IRS with your one chance to get your damn money back. Or pay the least amount in taxes, whatever the hell situation you're in.
Right.
And so it doesn't matter if your CPA has the coolest tech and all the best portal and all that, and it's super easy, but his tax strategy sucks and it's costing you 10 grand a year.
You don't care.
It doesn't matter, right? So it's like combining the 2 are important. Like, I want a CPA that's going to make it easy for me, but you also have to have the right strategy that's going to allow me to get the best, reduce my tax liability. It's the same with the insurance world. Yeah,
it's so funny. Like, this is awesome because I've only been on the tech side. Anyone who listens to these episodes, I always say that. So I want to preface that. I've never been an agent. I only speak to agencies every single day. And I can every time I talk to an agent, not every time, but majority of the time, they talk about client experience and how technology supports it, but they don't truly buy into it. And I think you're hitting on that today, is because they value their knowledge and what they can do for their client, right? You're hitting on that perfectly right now. But they're not understanding that if they created a better process to work with them, that's the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not calling anyone out here. Hopefully no one thinks bad of me when I say this, but I was on an agency's website today. Okay. I'm not going to name them.
Come on, Danny, round them out.
Definitely not. But they're an excess and surplus focused agency, and they have like a tab on their website that says applications and download the application. First off, if I'm a client, how do I know which application to download? First off, no idea. So what am I doing? Pick up the phone and call. First off, you're probably going to want to chat with them in the first place anyways. But what I mean by that is, guys, this is a fragmented way of thinking. Like, what you should have done, and just what I'm thinking, and I'm just going to go off on a spiel here real quick, is get them down a funnel to where you guide them into the application that they complete. And some of it's already done because you've done it on the back end for them. They only do a couple of things. They submit it and then give it back to you. That is a better journey. And if you combine that with what you're saying, I would never want to leave. No. Because now you've got me. You've created this journey to where it's so easy for me now, rather than saying, oh, yeah, just go to our website and download one of our applications and then re-key it in for renewal. Like, what? I don't want to do that. My tax guy does that to me. Sorry, tax guy. If you listen to this, you got to change your flow, man. Yeah. He'll send it to my wife and I every single year. He, no lie, gives me markers to go over certain lines. I'm like, what is this? It's 2024. I can type something in Chat GPT and get a whole response back. And I am markering stuff in a packet of 60 pages.
Oh, he mails it to you?
He mails it to me.
Okay, Danny, you got to fire your fucking tax.
Hey, I do it through my wife because she's an owner. Because she's like a dentist. So
Gotcha.
I've tried to tell her, get away. Sorry, guy. If you're listening to this, come on, man. Step your game up.
Look, if he's mailing you packets with markers, he's probably not listening to a tech podcast.
That's true.
You're safe.
Yeah.
You're safe, man.
Right.
That's insane. But there's probably a handful of agents more than a handful, that are doing the same thing, right? Hey,
yeah, they are.
The application, I highlighted the sections I need you to complete.
Correct. No, I know for a fact, and I know that because when I was at Wonderite, that's what they would do. Yeah. And always their argument would be, we're showing them like literally the better way to do it. It literally is. It's like, if you're not using a tool like Wonderite, what are you doing? But they were mailing out these applications for them to complete. And then they wanted, what they wanted a signature right after. But that's the issue. It's just like you're doing it because of what? The signature. Mm-hmm. When you could have just adopted DocuSign.
Excuse me, I agree, dude. It's insane. Yeah. Actually, you got me thinking about it. I just completed a renewal questionnaire for my damn umbrella. It's like, yeah, it was paper. I'm like,
oh my God.
What do I do with this, dude? It sat there for weeks because I'm like, just out of principle, I'm like, I was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But you made a good point before we move on. The application process, right? So when you bring that back into the front end sales side,
right?
What we're saying to these prospects is, look, you have one shot to negotiate with a particular carrier. Mm-hmm. Let's say XYZ carrier is going to be your best option. I don't know, you're a landscaper, let's say, and they're the best market. You got one shot to negotiate with them. Because the underwriters, they're looking at this stuff. They're going, okay, I've got 300 submissions a month. Which ones do I want to work on? One of the things, so as you're selling it to the prospect, it's like one of the things you need to do is make sure you create a top of stack submission, right? You've got to make sure you get to the top of that pile so the underwriter wants to work on it. Yep. One of the things that you can do is provide a complete submission. So you need to find an agency that has a streamlined process to get the data as fast as they can, put it into a clean application and get it to the carrier so that carrier, when they look at it, they want to work on it.
Yeah.
So prospect, that's what you should be looking for. At our agency, here's what we're doing. We've invested in this technology to make that happen. Do you want to work with us? Yes. Okay, great. Sign the BOR. Here we go. So you have to take the tech that you're using and bring it back to the customers, their process of getting what they want, which is ultimately the best deal in the marketplace. Yeah. And that's where a lot of people are not using the tech, right? They have the tech, but they're not connecting it for the prospect to the benefit.
No, they're not. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna say this, guys. All agencies, don't get mad at me, but we view technology as an expense. Stop it, guys. Stop it. Stop it. Yeah. Like, it's not an expense. All right, so we're gonna move on here. You said create an efficient sales process around the BOR. That's interesting. I know you should always create a specific sales process, right? And be targeted and whatnot. So walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so the idea behind it is the quoting process itself, from a sales perspective, sales process, it's highly inefficient, right? You have a call, let's say you have a call with a prospect, it goes really well.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, great. What are the next steps? 9 times out of 10, what are people doing? Hey, I'm going to send you an email with the stuff I need.
Yeah.
It's exposure information. And most deals die right there because the prospect gets the email. It's everything we were just talking about. It's like a step up from the mailed packet, but it's like, I'll get to that. Or they delete it, right?
Yeah.
And so we need to create an efficient sales process for ourselves, but because it's inefficient, right? To sit there and now follow up with a prospect for 3-4 weeks saying, we've all sent that email. Hey, I'm going to be in the area next week. Can I pick up your policies?
Yeah.
Like, dude, it's a freaking joke, but we've all done it. So it's got to be efficient for us to get somebody who's interested and move to the ask as fast as we can. We have to be able to pitch them without losing momentum. And so creating that efficiency in the sales process, we just need to move to that quickly. And then for the prospect, it needs to feel efficient. Everybody wants their stuff yesterday.
Yeah.
So for us to say, hey, I'm going to send you an email, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to, and then from there I'm going to go to the carriers, and then get back to you. Like, they're losing interest each step of the process, and then you start asking them 1,000 questions, and it's over.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And
I mean,
so, go ahead.
like, you're right. Like, we are in a society today where we want instant gratification, things as quickly as possible. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I didn't understand insurance and I just like, if you had emailed me boatload of questions, and I know what questions they ask now because, like the exposure, all that stuff, I would
Yeah,
have no idea. I'd be like, screw this.
I'm not doing it.
You're right. That's a
Dude, something as simple as my doctor, I hated my doctor for years. Hated him. I can't even remember his name.
good.
And it just popped in my head, but I'll leave it out. So he just pissed me off year over year with this stupid question. Like for 1 year, he's like, "Are you exercising?" And at the time, I work out 5 days a week to this day, but at the time I was freaking killing it, man. I'm like, "Oh, I do yoga Monday nights. I work out 5 days. I lift. I'm running." And he goes, literally has the balls to look at me and go, "I don't think you're getting enough cardio." And I'm like, "Dude, when's the last time you worked out, man?" Like, I just listed all these freaking things. And anyway, so a year after year, I'm like, "I'm going to switch from this doctor," right? I hated him.
Yeah.
What happens though? I leave the physical. I'm annoyed by this son of a bitch. I go to the front desk. They say, "Hey, do you want to schedule your appointment?" "Yeah, sure. I'll just schedule it." But in my head, I'm like, "I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to get a new doctor by next year." 3 months, 2 months before the appointment, what happens? I get a reminder, "Hey, your physical's coming up." Or I see it in my calendar. And then I go to switch doctors and they're booking 8 months out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Well, I'll just take this appointment and I'll do it next year." I was with the guy for 7 years because of that cycle. And that's what happens a lot of times in the insurance world. They're going to sit there and tell you they're happy with their broker, but they're really not happy. They just don't want to go through the process because the process sucks.
That's a good point. I'm not gonna lie. Listen, I have nothing wrong with my current provider or anything like that. But listen, the way that kind of things were done, I was like, the only reason why I wasn't changing is because I know how hard the market is today.
Right.
I was like, well, if I leave, the price is probably going to be the same. Like, the only reason why, because I know that. But like, I've never spoken to the person. I'm like, and this is what I preach to agencies when I get on demos. I'm like, "Guys, I know you're busy. I get it. You have thousands of clients you got to interact with, but you have to be proactive. How do you do that? Stop doing manual stuff that doesn't matter as much." Right. And so just to piggyback off what you said, I mean, I don't talk to this person, but I don't want to leave because I know, first off, I know my price ain't going to be any different. And second of all, like, to get another like, I know it's going to be tough. Go through a new process.
Dude, it really is. It's crazy, man. I'm thinking about it right now. I've got my business insurance. I moved it to a guy in my program. He switched agencies. So now I'm floating, right? It renews like in the summer. And part of me is like, dude, I caught myself just as you were saying this. I'm like, I might just renew with that. I don't even want to be with the agency that it's with because I was there for him. But I'm like, it might just be easier, man. Yeah. Then like, because he's got to wait a year. It's just, he's got to wait a year to bring me over, all this shit. I'm like, maybe I'll just stay there rather than doing the whole thing. And so if we're feeling that and we're in the damn industry, like, what do you think that, the contractor or the real estate company, the landscaper, whatever the hell type of business you're going after, what do you think they're thinking? They're not in the industry. They don't get it,
Yeah.
It's painful for them.
It is. No, these are great points. So when we're bringing in to the BOR, like with a sales process, like, what do you give us one tidbit? Like, what would you advise maybe an agent to do? Just like maybe one thing.
Yeah. The biggest thing is to be able to BOR without having to get any policies or get any information.
Okay.
And that freaks people out. Freaks them out, right? Because like, whoa, how do I know what I'm walking into a landmine? What if there's coverage gaps, right? It's like, chances are, let's just assume there's coverage gaps. Let's assume the other agent did a shitty job. Okay, great. Whether you knew it or not, what happens is once you get the BOR, then you're going to go in and you're going to fix it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, but the thought is, well, the prospect's going to they don't want to pay more. As long as you position everything on the front end, and say, look, here's what's going to happen. We're going to do a full-blown coverage analysis. I'm going to make recommendations. There may be additional cost. There may be cost savings. I don't know yet. But if you can get to the sale, right, if you can create a process where that prospect can say yes to you without having to do a bunch of homework, you're going to get more people on board who want to work with you because you make the process simple. And then once they become a client, then you can take them through the underwriting process and you can do all those things. But now it's not getting in the way of the sales process. And that's what keeps people from switching, right? They might hate their broker. They want to move to you. They like you, Danny, but the process is too hard. So they stay. So if we can make the process to switch as simple as possible and then go do the work on the back end, underwriting, making sure they have the right coverage, recommending new policies, whatever it is, they're going to be more apt to do it as well because it was a simple process to get to you, the broker that they want to work with. And then now they have to do all those things because the renewal's coming up. I don't know if that counts as one thing.
No, I mean, it does. Guys, think about it this way. Listen, I always push check, guys. Truly go out there and see what's in the indie tech world. Figure out how to make it easy. Okay. I think agencies think internally here too much. We need to think about what it's like to be our client and how they work with you. Okay. I work with Glovebox today and I get on the phone with a lot of agencies. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them say, we like when our client calls us. It infuriates me when infuriates you. You like it. Your client, do they like it? Can you tell me? Do you know for a fact that that isn't a problem? And so we need to think about our client, how easy, whether it's quoting or servicing, that we want to make them to get certain actions done. So thank you for bringing that up. That's huge. And, sometimes I feel like we miss that fact and we only internally.
I agree with you, dude. So like I've got a financial guy and I was trying to get something done. And all of a sudden he called me like 3 times and my phone's on do not disturb all the time. Yeah. And I'll check it when I'm ready. Like I don't want to be bothered like when I'm trying to get something done. Right. And but I'll go in, I'll check it, I'll call you back, I'll message you back, whatever, right? Yeah. So you gotta call me right now. And I'm back to back in meetings. And I'm like, dude, I don't have time to freaking call you today, like for this financial thing, right? Yeah. It went on like 3 days and it's like, we were able to solve it through email. And like ultimately, like that's what I wanted because when I was doing that stuff, it was at 8 o'clock at night. Like, and I knew they weren't available for a phone call. Like I didn't want to have to take time out of my day to deal with this thing that ultimately I could just deal through email. And so, in the same true with online banking. Like sometimes I'm doing banking at 8 o'clock at night. Like the bank's not open, but I need to be able to access my stuff and transfer money. Like, can you imagine if you had to call the bank every time you wanted to transfer cash?
It's wild. I hear you, man. It's crazy. When you tell people that, I think it doesn't resonate and you have to, and I think this also goes to me, right? Like breaking it down even more with these people and giving them an instance, like the question that you get, so calling you at 8 p.m. at night. Like I don't want to be called. Like, should you have asked me how I want to be communicated with? Like generations come up, we like to text more. I would probably rather text. I do like the call if it's like for something big, but you need to understand that, guys. You got to understand that stuff. Like that's going to impact your business. Because look, Nick just said it here. He was pissed off that his guy was calling him at 8 p.m. So what are you guys doing to piss off your clients?
Oh, 100%. Well, and here's the deal, though. Here's what a lot of producers or even agency owners will have a challenge with, right? Because for years, and I sold this way, it was based on availability, right? That was the sales pitch. Right. So you go in, hey, when's the last time you saw your broker? Oh, they don't come in. Well, I'll be there tomorrow. Let's take a tour. I want to see the facility. Hey, here, a client, prospect, here's my cell phone number. Call me anytime. Anytime you need, I'm available. I don't care if I'm skiing with my family, doesn't matter. Right. And I did that for a while. And it got to a point where it was freaking frustrating on the back end for myself and my family. Yeah. But without a defined sales process, without an efficient sales process where you're actually bringing value, your default is that the value is availability.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think people have a hard time letting go of that, is because they want the clients to call them so they can prove their value because they're quote unquote available.
Right.
So if you can find a different way to show value, it's no longer dependent upon availability.
Agreed. Yeah, this is amazing. Like that, but for whatever reason, this industry is hard nosed on that. And thinks about reaching out to us. Reach out to us, and it's not good. So I always like to keep these short and normal. So I love this point, but I got to go to your other point.
Let's move on, dude.
It's great. I love this. But you said strategy is the solution.
Yes.
So like, what did you have in mind there?
Yeah, so I think what we're talking about with prospects, right? Like there's so much tech going into the industry, the agency, right? And how to use technology more efficiently.
Right.
That doesn't really benefit the prospect, right? Like that's not the solution that you're going to, like a prospect's not going to, it's going to be helpful if you have a streamlined application process.
Right.
Right. But like, they're not going to totally see the benefit, how that translates to them. So really what we need to do is on the front end sales side is say, look, here's how you navigate the independent marketplace. Here is a strategy for you to go out and manage your premium effectively. Here's what you need to do, right? You need to negotiate with underwriters. You need to create a competitive environment. You need to go to the marketplace every 3 to 5 years. Like there's all these things that we know you've got to do. Mm-hmm. You have to do that with one broker so that the brokers don't end up tripping over each other, blocking people out. It's only going to hurt you, prospect.
Yeah.
And then you've got to lead into and how they find the right broker. Part of that is you need to look for brokers that are advanced in the technology side, that have the tech stacks to be able to make the process simple. So the strategy for the prospect is to find this broker that exists out there that's doing these things, right? That's going to the market effectively, has invested in technology to make the process easier. Ultimately, that strategy of finding that broker is their solution. And because they can do that with anybody. They don't need you, the agency, that specific agency, to do that.
Right.
They could run that strategy on their own, right? It's like a tax strategy. Back to that.
Right.
There's a tax strategy that I can run effectively. Multiple CPAs could run it.
Yeah.
It's not dependent on one CPA in the whole world to run this tax strategy. There's multiple CPAs that can run it. So for me, I need to find what tax strategy I want and then who I want to run it. So when you're making the pitch to the prospect, you're helping educate them on that. Here's what you need to do. Here's the strategy you need to run. Here's how you find who needs to do it. And here's what you look for.
Yeah, this is guys, the double down on that. If you've ever been on a demo with a tech vendor in this space, the person who's doing the demo brings up, oh, we make it easy to click this. And when you look at it, in your demo, you're like, oh, whatever, not that big of a deal. But, you talk about all this adds up. Your entire journey for the prospect or the client, whether it's new business or renewals, it all adds up. So when you hear that the vendor say like, oh, we made an easy button to get this done. First off, it took them a lot of engineering work to get that done.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why it eliminated 10 to 15 steps from a normal process. So whereas you might not think it's like AI
right.
or something that's sexy per se.
Yeah.
But it adds up because you got to think about each and every step to how you get a specific action done. And that easy button might have gotten your client over the hump to thinking, wow, it's extremely easy working with Nick.
Yep.
And all it was, you change one step in your process. So guys, go out. I keep saying it. Go out there, check other vendors out there. I know I bring up a lot of ones on here. Check them out. See how it fits with what you write today, right? Because I know everyone's markets differently and what you write. But seriously, check it out and see how it fits and improve on your process. Really, come on. So I'm
exactly
old-fashioned ways here. Let's push this together because it's changing. and you got a new wave of insurance buyers coming in, and you need to be ready for them, or all the captives are just going to eat them up. So,
Yep.
so anyways,
Dude, it's spot on, man. You've got to invest in not only in the process, you got to invest in the tech, but then the process of how you deliver the tech and how you make that sale.
Right. Right. Well, Nick, man, this was great. I love bringing individuals on who have a different approach to the industry and how we apply tech in here. And I thought this was a unique conversation. And truly, I believe listeners are going to get a lot out of this. And so how I typically close this is I typically ask the listener, like, other vendors that they've heard of. So Nick, I'm going to put you on the spot here real quick.
Oh, shit. All right.
2 to 3 vendors out there, tech vendors, that you feel like could add value in, let's say, something like their BOR process.
Yeah, I think the 2 specifically, one is Glovebox, where you happen to be at now. Because, and what I love about what you guys are doing is it's a focus on the customer experience. I think, what do you call it? The client experience. What the hell do you guys call it?
Client experience.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay.
Yep.
So you're focused on that, right? And so with the BOR is about a client experience, creating a better client experience. And that's why I love Glovebox and what you guys are doing. And then same Wonderite, you work there as well. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like streamlining the process, right? So a lot of times people are looking at the BOR as just a sales tactic, right? Oh, I'm going to use this tool in my toolbox to get this deal. It's not about that. You can get it done that way. You can have a successful career. But ultimately, if we're focused on how do we create a better experience for the client and the prospect, whether they choose to go with me or not, that's the key. You've got to be okay with that. That's ultimately where the industry is going to improve, and prospects and clients are going to have better experiences. And that's why I like those 2 tech companies, because they're working to do that.
That's awesome. No, first off, thank you. It's one of the reasons why I work with those. Think highly of everyone that works at Wonderite and Glovebox. And guys, for all listeners out there, by the time this session drops, it'll be a month. The product will be a month old now. Glovebox just launched the ability to directly integrate with carriers. So guys, what does that mean? Policy data and documents are now going to be funneling from carriers. Okay. It's think of like Ivans 2.0. Yes, I said Ivans 2.0, not attacking them, but the problem today is policy data only pushes into management systems. And we sometimes can't get actionable use out of that data. So that's what Glovebox's goal is to push this out to other tools to get other value. So if you're a vendor or an agency interested in having that conversation, reach out to us. You can just go to glovebox.com. But this isn't about Glovebox. This is about you, Nick, and producer systems. And so, hey, if I'm an agent and I want to learn more about what you're doing and, maybe how to pick up this a process, how can I reach out to you?
Dude, LinkedIn's probably the best.
Okay.
Slide into my DMs, baby. That's the best move. That's the best way to get a hold of me. I freaking hate my email. I'll answer your email. If you go to our website, producer.systems, you can get my contact info there. I'll reply to you for sure. But LinkedIn's easier, man. I'm on LinkedIn pretty much every day. I post on LinkedIn every day. So either message me with questions. You can follow along. I'm literally, the shit I post, look, I should probably hype it up more. What do they call it? The original creative content that I post. That shit is, dude, it's designed. You could never talk to me and you could build out the BOR process on your own. Like, that's my goal, so that you could just follow along and create this. Now, look, could I help you speed it up? Yeah. So DM me and I'll help walk you through it. But that's the best way to get a hold of me.
Love it, man. I know, guys. I'll have his LinkedIn and the video notes here, and through like Spotify and all the other avenues that you might be listening, or platforms that you might be listening to. But Nick, you're the man. I truly appreciate you coming on here, telling us about your journey, and how you became a leader in what you're doing today and providing value to agencies. I appreciate it, man.
Dude, thanks for having me on. I'm glad, speaking of sliding into DMs, I'm glad you answered my DM when I said, hey, can we get on the tech podcast and talk about this shit? So I appreciate you having me on, man. It's been a ton of fun. And just thank you, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate it, man. And guys, before I hop off here and close it out, I am doing something different here. And as I've been on this journey with bringing other individuals on who have provided extreme value and other viewpoints, which I truly value, my goal has been to make this industry more aware of technology out there and apply it. So I have decided to, make an impact with at least 100 individuals in this industry when it comes to using technology. So that can be a phone call, chatting about, what solution to move forward with, right? It could be an agency that I've worked with in the past at other companies like Agency Zoom, Wonderite, and today with Glovebox. But I want to be on this mission to better others, into creating better processes, and to build a better life. And just wanted to announce that in there. I'm starting with 100. So you'll see more content from me here, whether it be through phone calls or short videos or whatnot, chatting with other agents and, the impact that we've made. So just to let everyone know about that. But guys, at the end of the day, we discussed Indie Tech, how it'll help your agency. So thanks for listening and catching you on the next episode.